Planning Commission meeting Tuesday, July the 7th, 2026. Roll call. Alec Mosley.
Here.
Nate Wilson.
Here.
Dan Sargent.
Here.
Dan Brown.
Here.
Katie Trahan.
Here.
And Richard Black. Everybody is present and accounting for. Before we get started, Mayor, you talked to Ed Provo recently. How's he doing?
I did see him on July 4th. He says he's doing well, and me and Kathy are going day by day. But nothing medical coming up, and he was in good spirits, and of course delighted to see me.
I saw him drive the other day.
Yeah.
I didn't see him on the 4th. I usually see him, but I guess he wasn't there.
He was there, even made church Sunday.
Okay, good. Good.
But I'll let him know you asked. Thank you.
You see him, give him all our regards. Maybe I'll run into him.
I will. Thank you for that.
Okay. Minutes says everybody had an opportunity to review last month, June the 2nd. Minutes, any corrections, changes, modifications? If not, do I have a motion?
I move we approve the minutes. I second it.
We have a motion and a second. All those for?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Planner, I'm gonna let you tell us what's going on with anything you got going on.
No, I don't think there's anything, don't think that I think of, because I know that Nate, I've been in contact, I don't know if anybody else, you guys had a meeting, was it last month? No, last month with a planner from Institute for Local Planning.
I actually wasn't there.
Okay.
These guys were there.
Yeah, that's the only thing. I know we're going to be working with them. I think it'll be a little different than how we did with Kronberg. I think I'll be much more actively involved in working on the ordinances. So that way, you know, it may hopefully be an easier transition than we're doing.
Well, I assured him y'all wouldn't bump heads. Y'all would be working in concert with each other, so
Yeah.
it's good to hear. Any, I ask every month, do bones, any activity?
I know that there's some, again, I don't know, there's our economic development department. I know he's had conversations with them, so I think there's things they're working through there. I'm not involved with those conversations. I have not received a site plan, so obviously they still have to submit a site plan because they had initially given kind of a site plan just to kind of look at it, but they didn't actually officially submit it, and then it was never put on the agenda, so it's never been approved.
What about the other, two of the other items that we have approved previously, the two motels, any activity?
From what I understand, Hampton Inn, there's an issue, or they're trying to get water or something. I don't know, they or maybe we didn't want to sign that.
Hampton has applied for a TIF through Marion County, and they're waiting word on that. I think if I just off the record, my personal observation, and they haven't told me this, I think with the new Federal Reserve chief and interest rates up and down may have put a hold on some of it. I know that they're working on financing as well as engineering.
Is that the Hampton?
That's the Hampton.
What about the?
Marriott?
Yes.
Marriott, I have not heard back from. I suspect probably the same issues. They don't have as much engineering to do as Hampton, but they have some issues. But nothing. I have not received a recent update.
Okay. Thank you. All right, we're going to swap some old business with new business. We're going to do new business first. First on the agenda is the Norcut subdivision FP or survey. Okay.
That it is.
Okay.
I have to plan, what we're planning on doing, we're just needing right now four plants. I guess there's 3 copies there. So it'll be these 4 lots here, which I've been working with John for some on this. And I didn't see your email today.
Give us, that's going down Summerfield.
Yes, for Summerfield Road. So, we got all the signatures except the electrical guy. We talked to him today and he was out on the other side of Altamont. And he said he had no problem signing this. He verified that with Travis Lawley. Called him, so. I know you asked about this. There is a septic already there. It's been approved.
Okay, that's the main concern. I just didn't know if TDEC needed.
Yeah, that house is already there. It's already been built and everything.
Okay. So,
Well, I know you had questions on.
yeah, so the reason, when I sent the review out, had not gotten a revised copy, so since then I have. Essentially what they're doing is that they're creating these 4 lots. By cutting off here, they did create a lot, which means that this has to be shown as a lot line. They have to show the boundaries. This one, they're showing its remainder. From what I understand, or see, these are
One parcel.
one parcel. So this is 54, which means you don't have to show the entire boundary if it's over 5 acres. So as long as they have all the signatures there, then I'm fine. Has TDEC signed off on this?
There you go.
So TDEC has, so SOTA's not been done,
Yeah, so it says it in
but
there.
TDEC's not signed off.
Okay, yeah, he's the one that sent all this, where all the septics and all that.
Yes, because TDEC has to sign off.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Yeah. So it's up to you guys to whether you want to table it or do a subject to TDEC.
We've made some mistakes doing subject to times past. Are you local?
I live in Pelham, yes, sir.
You know, as I recall, weren't there pump stations that were going to be required in those pictures?
Wait, for where?
For this subdivision? Pardon?
These are all septic.
Is this multiple copies? Or is this
It's just 3 copies, I didn't know I needed multiple, I'm
I
sorry.
don't know.
There's 3 here, yep. You can take these on there.
Jonathan, you giving us a recommendation without signature?
I mean, again, I think Alec does make a good point that we have had issues in the past with
Yeah.
subject to.
I mean, tomorrow.
TDEC is a pretty important signature that you want on there.
We had somewhat adopted the practice of not doing subject to, right?
We certainly have. So we're going to do it. I move that we table this application until the next meeting and expect that there'll be a TDEC signature and we can approve it and have it signed after that.
We have a second, you make a
And
motion.
I move that we table this application.
A second.
We have a motion and a second to table this pending all the documentation and also being signed off on by Jonathan. And I apologize if you didn't know this.
No, sir, that's why I didn't see that one. So,
Well, we've had issues with this and not getting them back.
yes, sir, I understand.
And so it's just created some problem here and where we've had to go back and not issue building permits or even stop building permits because of that information in there. And
Been on
Yeah, we don't have to go over
4 lots
that.
down
the
there.
outside.
Yeah, the electrical guy would sign it today, but he was,
This is what he's doing.
I already have that's the septic, the state approval there for the septic systems. There, that's where he's done approved the septic sites for 2, 3, 6, and 7. And the one's already, the septic tank's already in, and he's already approved it.
But he needs to sign it.
Sign it, yes, sir, I understand that.
Mayor?
I would like, and it's been requested that it be on the record and in the minutes, that what Travis Wilson, as our utility engineer, has approved is the 2-inch line servicing only 2 houses on Red Patty Road, and the 6-inch line in Summerfield only serving the 2 houses on Summerfield Road. Because as you come back with other changes, and I understand from Mr. Northcutt, this might be in phases.
Right, yes,
We
sir.
don't want to have to come back and increase a line or decrease a line or no. So I think it's important that everyone realize that what was approved is only for those 4 houses.
Right.
Any additional work will require a whole new set of review and approvals from TDEC on the water side. The state, of course, does the septic system, that's up to the state. But it should be in the minutes that our approval is limited only to 2 houses on Bud Patty, 2 houses on Summerfield.
Yes, sir.
Is this the B section
Yes, sir.
where
Yes.
you've recently cleared off?
Yes, sir.
Rubbed it and everything?
Yes, sir. And you already got a house on the lot.
Yeah.
Did you vote on the motion? Because I have another comment.
We have a motion and a second. All those for?
I have a question. Jonathan, am I understanding correctly, though, that this plat is ready for approval? It is only missing the Duck River or the Sequatchie Valley signature?
And the TDEC signature.
Okay. I guess I'm not sure why. What problems have we run into by not approving it subject to those signatures?
But it never came back, it was never brought back to us for approval, and it was never approved.
So then it would not be able to be built, right?
But they
It's been
did.
built, but it has
They
been
did.
built.
Oh.
Mr. Barker.
I'm opposed to delaying the man, so
Yeah.
I think they just make a vote, I guess.
We have a motion to table this until all the information is on here. And a second. All those for?
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed,
We'll have to get back on the agenda.
Jonathan,
Yes.
how many plats does he need?
I believe the subdivision regulations say 5 copies.
Right, okay.
5 signed copies.
Okay.
And I'm going to be your final signature.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
You know, I'm in agreement with the mayor's position that, you know, you got a 2-inch line, there's a lot of property there that they can still subdivide, so I'm concerned with down the road, they want to add more lots, and we're not going to have sufficient water supply to that area.
well, they got 7 there, potentially,
yeah.
and the rest of the lot.
5 of them will be,
Yeah. I live in a subdivision with
6 of them will be-
line, and there's 14 homes.
yeah, 6 of them will be on the 6-inch line and 4 will be on the 2-inch line,
Yeah, okay.
is what we would do.
Well,
For your next phase.
Yeah, for the next stage, it'd be only two on the Bud Patty and the other,
On Summerfield Road.
be on this other Summerfield Road.
Yeah.
Only 2 left over. So it'd be only 4 altogether on the 2-inch line.
So the risk by phasing it is somebody would come along downstream of you and take that capacity on that 2-inch line before you had a chance to come back. That's what it seems like we were.
I think the 2-inch line is dedicated off the 6-inch in Bud Patty's backyard, so to speak. And I don't know if anyone else can hook on. TDEC says 7 homes on the 2-inch. So that's why I wanted it in the record. We're not going past these 4 homes right now. I don't know if it's all been platted, I don't know if septic's been approved, I don't know where they want to run the water line. I understand since it's a subdivision outside city limits, a site plan is not required, but we still, as part of the utility district, need to know what water lines are going where. Now, if I may continue, to Dan's point, and I've mentioned it to other people, we have the urban growth boundaries, which we've discussed from time to time, but we are also studying under the name of utilities, the utility district and how far we would extend our water lines to meet our growth, or potential sewer lines to meet our growth, and not necessarily tomorrow, perhaps 10 years from now. But as the utility and the aldermen are looking at maps as to say, yeah, we may run a line all the way up here, or we should be able to run a line all the way to here. So I just want to make sure that it's clear that we have, with or without urban growth boundary, with or without utility approval, we just need to make sure that all of that is covered for future growth. So I ask if there's any discussion or Jonathan's input or whatever, but I think it should be addressed just for, well, our planning now as far as water lines, but in the future expansion of Mount Eagle, if, as, and when.
Agreed. Okay.
Thank you.
Next on the list is data center zoning amendment. There's a copy of it in your package. Jonathan, can you expand on this?
Yeah, so this is from conversation last month. The Planning Commission just wanted me to put an ordinance together, just kind of give some regulations for data center. I'll say right now, as our planning staff, I know that we're probably going to look to have a more solidified, more in-depth data center zoning ordinance that is consistent throughout the region. So that's why I didn't put anything in terms of more regulatory things here. The only thing I did is put it as a use, an industrial, as a use by special exception. The reason I put industrial is I think, and there have been arguments in other communities where people say it can be commercial because we don't currently say anything about data centers. So somebody can come in and say, well, I think it's commercial use. I would disagree with that just because there's not really any commercial aspect in the data center. Most of the time they don't have enough employees to, they don't generate jobs. You don't get sales tax. You don't get things that you would typically find in commercial business. But someone could make that argument if you don't specifically know where it's located. So this is just kind of a first step thing that I think just, maybe have it so that way you guys don't have concerns about a data center, just somebody popping up right across the street.
I have a question. Jonathan, is the term data center, I mean, we all hear it a lot these days, but is it so clearly understood that we don't need a definition for a data center?
Well, that's what I was saying. We're going to have more, but I don't want to put something that I come back a few months from now because, you're having everybody else in your region has a different definition. It's not consistent with what you guys have. So I didn't want to put that. Data centers are, if you ask anybody, even on Phantom Street, they're going to know, they're going to tell you, data center has something to do with the cloud or something to do with, computers and computing and AI. So it is, pretty well known in terms of that sense, but when we do more regulatory, we probably would put a more defined reason, what data center is. And some communities that have it where it has to be so much acreage, you have to have so much water source, but I didn't want to put that in until we have something that, since I know that the staff is looking to work on that more. And I think also the Institute for Public Service, the state local planning office is also looking to put kind of something that is more of a statewide approach too. So that way there's not inconsistencies throughout the state. So that's why I didn't want this thing in bars bulk writing for right now.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing what the definition is. I don't know if I'm telling my age or not, but the data centers that I worked with in the past would be 20, 30,000 square foot buildings that are more for disaster recovery. And the other companies, firms would share a space in there, and that's where they would recover if their building was destroyed. So I never even thought about AI. I didn't think of a small building. So when I saw data center, I thought of the big.
There's a large of them. Obviously Nashville right now is dealing with it because I think they're going to have one here. There's a zoo, something like that. That's what was the huge concern in Nashville was where its location, and obviously the amount that it pulls on the power grid and your water supply, which obviously for Mount Eagle is a concern.
Mayor, information?
Sir. I'm an attorney and I practice in Davidson County some, and I was going to reference that case because if I were you guys, I would pull that case because it's going to be very well defined what is the term data center, because to your point, they were trying to put one in right next to the Nashville Zoo. And so Nashville is going through this entire zoning process and everything. And I think last I heard was Metro was going to actually try to claim public domain and claim that land for the city itself because they're literally looking at putting a data center right next to our zoo, which is gonna impact the animals. So all of that legwork with definitions and everything will have already been fleshed out by Davidson. Sorry, that was my 2 cents.
Thank you. Just real quick, whatever document you all approve that Jonathan prepares, will that then go to the mayor and alderman?
Yes, because it would have to be a zoning.
Okay, because a lot of what I understand, a lot of past resolutions that have declared a 2-year moratorium until further study.
So you, as a board, as a legislative body, can put a moratorium on use. I mean, I would want you to talk with your town attorney before you would do that.
Right.
But from what I understand, that would be more of a legislative body. Because the planning commission is a regulated body. They would not be the ones putting moratorium. It would be your legislative body. But I've seen in the past where there have been moratoriums done, but I would talk to your town attorney in terms of how that would be and what's the legal ramifications.
I just want to follow the chain. Thank you.
So are you recommending we take action on this, or we wait?
Well, I think at the very least you can say it basically puts it, you don't have any industrially zoned area. So you're kind of limiting it already by saying it has to be industrial, it has to be used by special exception, and you're putting a lot of constraints on where it can be, but you can do further. I mean, this is just kind of, a Band-Aid for right now.
This is a start,
Yeah, it's a start, yeah.
and then we could amend it if we.
Yeah, you would
So-
you could put, we put a definition for data centers and could expand its use of where it's located.
We've already got them isolated in the industrial anyway, so.
Well, no, this is where I'm putting, this is new. You don't have any definition concerning data centers currently in the zoning ordinance. So this is creating something new.
Okay.
That-
That's the bullet point I see in the ordinance here as it's written.
Yeah, because I'm saying by adding data centers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great, Dean.
I thought the process here was that this was sent to the planning commission by the mayor on behalf of the council for the required recommendation, yes or no, before we take action on it. Is that not?
It could be, I did not do that. They wanted it based on zoning and creating an industrial zone, as I understood it.
But
And I haven't seen that document. so-
I requested this at last month's planning commission.
Well, and I got a copy of something from Debbie. I'm assuming that's what you gave me, right, and it was coming to the planning commission, and I thought the procedure was, it comes to the planning commission for a recommendation back to the city council.
That's right, that's right, that's all we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, this ordinance would have to go back to the board mayor alderman.
But the only issue is the recommendation up or down tonight. Is that not correct?
The issue with this group is yes or no.
Yes.
If it's no, it doesn't go to you.
Yeah, it still does. And we don't have to have approval from the planning commission.
Yeah, so the way state law works is that you make a recommendation of approval or disapproval. If you disapprove it, then the board by a majority vote can take up that ordinance again to vote on it. Now, if they change it or they make different things where it's actually changing the language of the ordinance, it does have to go back to the planning commission because state law requires the planning commission to be the one to write zoning ordinances.
Chair, I move that planning commission approve and recommend to the council the adoption of this ordinance to add data centers to the schedule of permitted uses as it appears in our agenda materials.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those for? All opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Next is light manufacturing and sales facility in C3 zoning. And do we have representatives? Okay.
So, and I have my attorney present here too, Ms. Harrison. So, Just a little bit about the company, and good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me the chance to speak. My name is Justin Dirksen. I'm the COO of KD3 Construction. We're located in Manchester, Tennessee. And our company is looking to purchase the property located at 850 Dixie Lee Avenue in Monteagle. I believe that's the correct address. And the purchase is contingent on obtaining a zoning amendment that will allow all aspects of our business operations to function from this location. And a little bit about who we are. We're a construction contractor specializing in custom homes, barn dominiums, shops, garages, and post-frame building construction throughout Middle Tennessee. We're seeking approval to conduct light manufacturing and fabrication activities related to construction operations, lumber and building storage, building material storage, contractor operations and distribution activities, limited retail sales of building materials and related products. Retail sales would be a small portion of our activity and are not the primary purpose of the property though. This would not be heavy industrial operation. We are not proposing loud manufacturing, large scale processing, or anything inconsistent with a quality commercial business environment. And then we believe our proposed use is compatible with the surrounding commercial area, and we respectfully request your support of this zoning amendment. And thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
So your request is this property is owned C3?
Yes.
And your request is to add light manufacturing and other components?
And some small scale retail. Obviously, when you have a lumber yard, you can have some walk-in customers wanting to purchase lumber. So, and then as far as the manufacturing goes, that side of things would be like metal roll forming or for our own use for shops. And then obviously there'd be a small retail side to that just due to the fact that we blow metal there. So,
your application gives the address, and I'm not sure if you were meant to be asking for a change to the zoning just of your tract, but what we've got before us is a proposal to allow this type of use everywhere in the C3 district. So it wouldn't just be for, for the benefit of your company.
Okay.
I don't know if you have seen what the proposal is, because it has some conditions about the use of doing the kind of business you're talking about in the C3 zone. You'd like to see
Yes,
Sure,
can we
yeah,
see that?
yeah,
Yes,
sure.
please.
down there that last page. Can I?
Yes.
To be clear, the request is not to change the zoning, the request is to not to change the zoning of that piece of property, is to change C3 language that would allow this. The definition of C3, interstate commercial district, is intended to meet the specific opportunities and needs of interchanges with interstate highway. Serve both the needs of the motoring public and commercial vehicles, as well as addressing the unique commercial opportunities and problems created by access to the interstate highway. It goes on to say that excluded are those uses that do not provide services or accommodations directed towards interstate traffic. So your business does not meet that criteria. C3, that's the basic in a nutshell what it says there. And as Alec is saying that you just couldn't change your parcel to qualify for that. everything that is currently zoned C3, anybody would be able to do that in that zone.
I'm not sure. Do you expect out-of-town customers, interstate
Yes.
transportation of materials and goods and so forth?
Yeah.
And that maybe wasn't expanded upon as much, because like, what he's saying they do, it's these barnuminiums and these custom homes, so there's gonna be the retail side of it. There's going to be customers and people traveling here to meet with them for these facilities and homes. I know one of the things that they do is, it's kind of a two-stage process where they meet with people and they go through an entire design system with them where everything about the house is designed. And those people have to physically come here to meet with them at their facility. And then at that point, once all the fixtures and everything, not just fixtures, but every component of the structure are chosen, then that's when they move forward and they're going to manufacture some of the materials there on site. And wherever the people have the homes, whether it's here, Murfreesboro, Manchester, they're going to be bringing those items out there. But then there is also the retail side of it and the shop, where I think that's something where people are going to actively be coming in and coming here for those shops.
I assume you use heavy trucks or trailers
Yeah.
to move your goods around.
Mhm.
When you say you prefab some of the components of the home, what do you think of the percentage is that you prefab on site as opposed to what being done at the 850 Dixie Lee?
I would say probably 95% of the home is, so I would say that the home is constructed on site, but some of the fabrication that we would be doing is just our roll forming for our metal. That would be the only fabrication that I could think of that we do there, is having one shop that we would keep our roll formers in, our trim formers, and roll the metal out in there to specific lengths, and then package it up, take it out to the job site.
So you don't prefab the walls, the
No.
joists,
Building.
and load it up on a trailer and take it out?
No. It all goes out in pieces of lumber, pieces of metal, and it gets put together at the job site, so,
Much the same as a building center.
yeah.
It sounds to me as though this does have a connection with interstate traffic and business.
Sure.
And if it were going into Montyville, I'm thinking C3 might be the place to have it.
I think so too, and I mean, ultimately, in my mind, as long as when you get to the actual business and the grounds, as long as things are, you're gonna have a lot of it in the shop, and then as long as you've got proper screening when you get to the site plan and that kind of thing, you're gonna have to follow from the zoning piece. I see this is okay. I just think, when you get to your site plan, there's gonna be things that you're gonna have.
Help me understand, guys. So what we're saying is this is not C3, this is industrial.
Light industrial.
I'm saying that I think it may well be proper C3 use.
Me too.
Because people drive it.
And they're going to be moving things on heavy trucks that from presumably getting on the interstate at 135 and heading for Manchester or Murfreesboro or wherever the customers are building.
And I don't think it's not like it's heavy putting stuff together like industrial. It seems like it's more rolling metal, putting things together within their shop that you're not going to be hearing and particularly, correct me if I'm wrong.
That's
But
correct.
this is
Anything
sounding
that-
like it's inside. No worse than builders, but in a bit better location.
So
I like the location
took-
where it's
yeah.
at too, the 850, that one.
I took this ordinance almost word from word from another one of our communities, and it was for their highway commercial zone district, is where they allowed light manufacturing. So, from that town's perspective, they treated that as a commercial use and not an industrial use. Looking at your scheduled permitted uses, again, I had this discussion with them, I was saying, your C3 is probably your most limited commercial zone district in terms of what uses are allowed there. And I know that, probably with your discussion in the future with C2 and C3, revamping that may be something that we need to address. Because typically, a lot of towns, it's kind of the reversal. Your smaller commercial, you don't want as many things there, and then you start expanding in terms of the uses that you allow in your bigger commercial zone districts. But going for that, and then looking at industrial uses, I couldn't find anything within your scheduled permitted uses that would really coincide in terms of industrial use that would be allowed for what they would want to do. Because again, your industrial uses are pretty heavy industrial in terms of what you want required there.
How many acres are you on?
It's the survey says 4.15.
Best I went down there and looked at it, best I can recall, your neighbors across the way here, Montefiore Tire and Truck and
Yeah, I believe
Tire.
so, yeah.
And then there looks like there's a salvage yard
Yeah.
or whatever.
And there's woods on the backside.
Saying
24 records next to him.
Salvage yard.
Record company just did pass.
And a record company.
And then there's a couple of residences there across the street from it.
Okay. I haven't been down there in about a month or so, so I've only been there twice, so I can't quite recall, but yeah, sounds right.
The property is the last lot, I believe, right before you get to the gate to go to the interstate.
Not quite the
This was the
last.
second to the last, I believe.
Sir.
Second to the last.
Second to last.
I think the record company is between.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the record company is the last one there.
The locals refer to that property as the old tiny town truck stop location. So if you're one of the locals, say tiny town, everyone will know where that is. And you probably,
Used to be entrance to the interstate right
Yeah.
off the mountain.
and
That was how you
the guy
got
that owned the property from that Mendel, I forgot his name, he passed away. I own the property on the other side of him and then back up where Redco is, and I had talked to him at that time, he didn't even have a 911 address. His family was related to the Crosland family on Chuck's side or Chuck's wife's side or something, and then he passed, and I think it's gone into other people for sale.
So the other C3 property that we have would be where the future truck stop is planned, right? In the C3, right?
That whole
Right.
area, see.
Yeah, everything out there,
Yeah, but on this side,
including this property, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah, this
including.
property is
yeah,
also.
this property right next door.
Yeah, when you come, what I call the railroad tracks, it's no longer there. But when you turn left, everything through here is C3 now.
So we could have manufacturing right next to the Dollar General,
Could.
if we approve it. We could have it when the truck stop, if the truck stop doesn't go there, we could have manufacturing there.
Well, I think it sounds like what they're doing is like what, in Manchester down there, Watson Metals there.
Right.
It would be very similar to Watson Metals.
You can ask for an order of metal and that's what you get.
Yeah, and it's just a business, and I'm assuming it's gonna be bringing jobs, and the city's getting revenue off sales tax, and,
The other thing is a lot of
Yes,
their
Mayor,
machines,
I'm sorry.
No, please, go ahead.
I was gonna say, a lot of their machines they run on diesel. And so the construction machines themselves would be bringing business diesel gas, and then the actual employees, customer base, and everyone else, more typical gasoline. And so I do see it bringing foot traffic here.
Richard, to your concern about manufacturing next to the Dollar General, the ordinance as currently written says that the Planning Commission shall determine whether the proposed use is suitable and may impose any restrictions or conditions upon the proposed light manufacturing so as not to allow a use that is incompatible with the intended uses of the C3 zoning district. So you maintain some discretion. I have a problem with the next sentence because it seems really loosey-goosey. Building shall maintain a commercial-looking facade. That seems awfully
Yeah, so this
suggestive.
was taken straight from, again, I just want to give something for you guys to look at and to work with as we those things. Because again, and you're kind of in a situation where your C3, like I said, your C3 is a very, it's somewhat very restrictive in terms of what you have, what's allowed there. It's very atypical for your larger commercial zoning districts that you see in our region where, you have bigger uses. Essentially, you wouldn't be able to have, right now, you couldn't, if you had, a big enough C3 that could support it, you couldn't put a big box store there just because of the way your zoning ordinance reads, which is what most high-density commercial would allow in other communities. Again, that's something that I think as you guys work through your C2 and C3 with myself and the local planning office, that may be something to see, and obviously with Magic Montego and how you guys put that all together. But again, I just wanted to put something for you guys to work with that I felt that wouldn't open up the floodgates right now, especially as you're trying to figure that out with C2, C3, but it'll allow a use that I think is compatible with uses that would be allowed, that probably should be allowed in your high density commercial.
I'd like to make a motion to accept this application.
So a motion to recommend approval to the
Yes.
board.
We have a motion on the table. We have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those for?
Aye.
All those against?
I was hoping to have some discussion, but
I'm sorry, Mayor.
Well, I just wanted to address you all, and I think in the name of land use, that would be more suitable than some other things we may have confronted in the past. I think serving the community and being close to the interstate that would alleviate traffic through downtown. I mean, I don't see them driving their trucks down Main Street. I think it's a welcome addition to the community. And unless there's some glaring TCA or issue of commercial versus industrial, quite frankly, I would welcome them. So I'm glad that you're taking action and we can work with them for future development.
Well, we're gonna have to have a definition of light industrial since we don't have it in here now to be able to add it.
Well, that's what I didn't understand from earlier conversation. Is it light industrial or commercial, C3?
It sounds more like it sounds more like commercial to me.
So I don't know what we've approved.
How many-
I don't know what our definition, let me talk. I don't know what our definition is of what we've just approved, and what the restrictions are, because the next person that comes in here with light industrial may not be something we want.
Well,
This is, so now we're in C3. So anything is open game in C3 for light industrial.
may I make two suggestions to this ordinance? I think it may have, I don't know, did we get to the vote? Did it pass already?
Yes.
I didn't ever vote because you called on those so quickly that I thought we were gonna have some discussion, but.
Yeah, I was waiting for discussion as well. So I agree that this seems like an appropriate use. I think this is a good idea. I agree. We will need to define light manufacturing, but I don't know that that needs to hold these folks up. What concerns me, again, are these two sentences. The one sentence number 1 that says it's converted to such use provided that most of the noise, odor, dust, glare, and storage of raw finished materials are confined within the enclosed building. that seems really loosey-goosey and would be something that I think we ought to define better for their protection as well as our own. And then the second area is building shall maintain a commercial-looking facade. That also doesn't give a whole lot of guidance. And so I would propose that we change it to say that light manufacturing and sales shall be in buildings of a warehouse-type structure or similar building that is suitable for such use or easily converted, providing that 80% of the gross manufacturing square footage be inside. So that gives you a target to say that you can work outside, but the majority of your facility is inside. It's measurable, it's easy, and we scratch the dust, glare, and storage of raw and finished materials, because I think that can be problematic for them as well as for us. And then on the sentence before last, I would change it to say buildings shall maintain a facade consistent with other commercial zoning districts, and the property shall not give the appearance of being used for industrial purposes as it will be in a commercial area. That way we have something consistent for them to target, and we're not leaving it so open to interpretation. That's 80% just came off the top of my head, so I welcome feedback. I was just trying to think about Watson Metals,
Yeah.
looking at what its lot looks like.
I think the one material that would be stored outside but under roof, of course, would be like lumber, because you have them on racks, and then you have a roof over to keep the sun off, keep the rain off, but it might be unprotected on the sides. It's not that it would create a, noisy environment necessarily, just a forklift or something like that to move it around, but, or dust or anything like that.
But also, that's, you're not talking about manufacturing.
Right.
It's like
No, that's not
you're
manufacturing,
purely-
no, that's just storage.
Right.
My proposed language is just
Yeah.
manufacturing with the target of noise.
Yep.
And, I can see an outdoor welding facility, could be incompatible next to the Dollar General. So I'm just trying to think about how to better define things.
And, sir, I'm sorry.
I was gonna let Alex say something.
I have an idea to suggest that perhaps to allay any concerns about a manufacturing facility being located further and further up the street toward downtown, this be subject to a special exception so that the surrounding neighborhood could be considered as to whether it's the proposed use is amenable with the neighborhood. And I agree that, we might not want to see it here where next to the Dollar General. But where they're talking about building seems to me to be a perfect location for that kind of business.
That would allow us to remove all this loosey-goosey language, which might in fact be simpler, because then we can just say it's a use by special exception. We like these people's proposal, come to us. We can approve it, but that maintains the ability to say that there may be some incompatible uses to C3. Y'all know I have problems with our C3 ordinance broadly, so trying to thread the needle here and get these folks moving.
Well, if I were you guys, I would recommend, you kind of brought up, or maybe it was you, sir, this sentence, planning commission shall determine whether the proposed use is suitable for the building and surrounding areas, and may impose any restrictions or conditions upon the proposed light manufacturing operation. Then it continues. If I were you guys, I would just expand that language a little bit of that sentence, because my concern would be not people like K3 construction coming in, but the data center that you just mentioned. And so even we just talked about the definition of a data center, and that's going to change over time and over the years. So the struggle that planning commissions have is trying to keep up with that and keep up with those definitions. But if y'all can maintain subjective control, then it's, you're able to just step in and stop it when someone's clearly trying to put like a data center in next to your Dollar General.
I just think we've lost sight of the total impact of C3 by putting industrial in there. I think we're focused more on what that side of the interstate looks like presently. And what you're saying would be probably beautification over there from what it's doing right now.
I would say one thing that you guys are going to probably have to consider in the future, and you're kind of treading that weird situation where you have uses that you put into industrial, but you don't have an industrial area. And so the future, that puts you in kind of a potential quandary in the future in terms of if you don't have a designated area where people can reasonably put in use that should be allowed, whether by special exception or not, then somebody could really challenge the veracity of your zoning map in the future. I'm saying, because again, there are a few counties in Tennessee where they have what's called conditional zoning, where, or in rezoning, you can put conditions when you rezone a property or rezone it a certain way. You guys cannot do that. So, that kind of puts us in a situation where you're having an area of, multiple uses in industrial. And, I listened to some of these uses that you say, you have a record surface over here. That, according to your zoning ordinance, is industrial use. You have other uses that may be currently industrial uses, but zone C3. That may be something that you may look at in the future and say you may want to have a very designated area, but that protects you in the future, because if you put a data center where it has to be 50 or 100 acres, well, none of that's going to meet that, and so that's the concern. You have to have some provision where somebody can at least say, I can at least attempt to put something here. Because if you say, well, I can't even have an industrial use in my neighborhood, that's, I think, is something that may be dangerous in the future if somebody may challenge the town.
Well, the problem is, so I looked at, it rolled around in my head, okay, well, why wouldn't we just rezone this industrial? Because we've had industrial in that area in the past, it's a consistent use, but that industrial doesn't allow for retail and commercial uses.
Yeah.
So we would still have to amend our industrial zoning to allow this type of business to happen. And it seems more straightforward in this instance to amend the C3 ordinance.
Yeah, I say that's fine. I'm just saying in the future, you're looking at it, you have uses, and you have uses there that are non-conforming uses. If that record service goes out of business for 3 years, they can't come back there. That's the reality of state law. They can't. Once 3 years have passed, they no longer have non-conforming status, and they can't resume services as a company. And so that would drive a business out of town from our neighborhood. That's just something that in the future, as we look into things and we consider that perhaps the way that these things are defined are not necessarily the way that best serves the town of Monteagle today. And that's something that I think you guys would need to figure out on the board and the town as a whole, looking of what best serves the town. And, you have different sections that may be more conducive to what different uses versus, this side of the interstate may be more conducive to different uses than this side of the interstate. And vice versa, things like that.
This seems pretty straightforward as a light manufacturer.
Like I said, I took this directly from a town in Marion County where that was in their highway commercial district.
If the proposed ordinance says the planning commission shall determine whether the proposed use is suitable, including for the surrounding area, isn't that language that almost implies a special exception?
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that you may want to amend. You may want to say the BCA in this situation. I think that town, their special exceptions are by their planning commission and not the BCA. Which that may be, that's something that we've seen kind of in our region where I think in the past we used to say special exceptions to go to the BCA, but a lot of times there's a special exception that also requires a site plan, and the BCA can't review the site plan. Then how do you review a site plan if you don't, it's kind of a situation where neither side is going to get the full information whenever they have to review the situation. So that may be something in the future you may want to look to see where you put it all in a single body, and leave the BCA more of a variance,
I like the idea of the special exception. And I think we keep talking about the light industrial, it sounds like, when you, again, like Nate said, you envision what Watson Metals look like. And it's mostly a retail shop with the rollers and back, so.
We've adopted rules for approving special exceptions. Do you have those handy, Jonathan? I don't know, I'll pull them up on my phone. Because I think then we can drop all this.
Yeah, I have a number of ordinances that I still need to have, I need to receive that I need to verify or sign so I can incorporate into a zoning ordinance. So
We should hope that this one was done, because it was done several years ago. But it, I'm just gonna pull it up. Because I think it might address everybody's concerns and allow us to move forward today. We just make it by special exception, then it has the 5 rules. But let me see if I can find the 5 rules on Google Drive.
I think we made a grave mistake in putting what we did tonight in C3.
I don't think we've had a vote on this. Neither Nate nor I realized we were calling a vote, so,
Well, we talked about it a lot.
but it hasn't been adopted.
You can do it.
Well, I think 2 people voted against it and fewer than 3 voted for it. Because I didn't vote, neither did they.
I've got this on ordinance.
Is there any more action on this?
Nate's looking up the ordinance.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to take some action on it, because I think it seems like there's enough consensus among the group that this is an approved use, so how do we get them moving forward?
Well, we just had a motion and it passed, so what else do you want to do?
Well, a couple people didn't know we were voting, so they didn't vote.
Well, then do it again. I mean, we'll hold these people here the rest of the night. This borders on ridiculous a little bit to me.
Go to the Dollar General and buy a sleeping bag.
I don't think
the
we'll need
economy.
that. Non-conformance, variances, special exceptions.
I don't know the right procedure. I move, well, I'm not sure I know what you want to do. I would like to see us do this by special exception, but I don't know how long it's going to take to come up with the language to do that.
Well, you could put, basically you're saying that instead of being a use by right, you'd say that change that to a special exception and change the language from planning commission to the BZA.
We don't even need that, do we? Because that's already in our ordinance, that special exceptions are approved by the BZA.
Well, yeah, but I think just for the language there, so that way there's no confusion. So
Well,
they're
if
saying
we-
the planning commission.
If we highlight it in green, doesn't it already say?
Yeah, but I'm saying with the language there, it's saying the planning commission shall determine. So just remove that, all you have to do is edit that, and say BZA, the Board of Zoning Appeals.
So can I move that we approve this ordinance, or recommend this ordinance for approval by the planning commission with the following amendment? Under section 545, light manufacturing and sales facility, the language be replaced in its entirety with light manufacturing and sales facilities may be allowed by special exception and approval of the BZA.
You say recommended, you mean recommended for approval by the council?
Yeah, recommend to approve by the council. I mean, it gives them, it does not solve the problem of letting you guys go, because now they have to have a BZA meeting. But it certainly is a broad solution. I mean, I think the risks are fairly low to approve like it is.
Exactly. You know, I just don't understand why we just delay and delay and delay.
So what is that language
It's
again?
like no one will want to come to Mont Eagle and set one foot in this town.
We're trying to fix it.
What is the language? You said light manufacturing?
Light manufacturing and sales facilities may be allowed by special exception.
Dean had a question.
Question, is this something, when y'all vote on it, it's gonna send to the city council? And the city council's options are what?
Reject it, approve it. I think that's,
Yeah, you approve or you reject it, or it dies for lack of a motion.
yeah, and then we can opine on the pulpit while we're up here about what we'd like to see in it, and maybe the planning commission here.
Well, I feel like Dan, I think it's ridiculous the way we treat people coming to want to do business in our community. And there's case after case after case of it. It's you know,
I agree with you, and I feel like we need language that protects them and protects others. And I would be uncomfortable if I were them with language that says most and must look commercial like, because then we just get caught up in people's interpretation.
why don't they just make it look like the record service area? Do you
Well,
want
I
that?
said consistent with other commercial facilities was my first suggestion.
Well, maybe it would be helpful, can you pull a picture of what your guys' other facility looks like? Because it would be something similar to this, and I think that would alleviate a lot of concerns, because this is not like a manufacturing warehouse like you're thinking of. It looks nice. And so I don't think there's any concerns, at least from my point of view, about the facade on the outside.
I don't think people have concerns that I've heard about this particular project. I think because it changes everything within the C3 district, we're trying to do something that allows us to,
Even if it's by special exception?
no, I think that's a good solution. That's what I'm putting forward, but it's not gotten a second yet.
I second it.
No. Okay, we got a second.
The brown color, I think. No.
The property we're at right now, we lease, so it's like a small office building.
Jonathan,
That's why we're looking for a property to purchase, so we have this one under.
Everything's
contract.
brown.
Brown,
So I'll give you,
including the
it's fine, I'll
downtown
give you like a,
Everything's
picture
brown.
that's similar to
That
what
color
we're
brown,
like.
like that other.
Oh, that's
red.
That's what we specialize in.
So basically everything.
It does bring up a question, though, that I think Jonathan should probably help us through for your planning, is if it's approved by special exception, we got to this chicken or egg thing around site plans. Who reviews, do they bring then a site plan to the BZA?
It depends on what your special exception ordinance says. Yeah, yeah. That's the thing, is the BZA can't approve the site plan. It becomes difficult to say you have to require a site plan for a special exception if they're not even the ones that are approving it.
It was my understanding site plan is planning commission
Yeah,
review.
and that's why I was saying I think some communities, that's why I was saying, this language is taken from a community where their planning commission grants special exceptions. And I think that streamlines the process in a way, because a lot of times your BCA doesn't need enough, sometimes even, it could be years before your BCA meets again. And so they may be,
That's not what I want to happen.
yeah, and so, your planning commission meets pretty regularly, so they're more informed in terms of the zoning ordinance and what the regulations are on a more consistent basis to allow, so that so that's what I think we're seeing in some of our communities. We've seen perhaps more success doing that way than traditionally what a lot of communities do. Mont Eagle uses your BZA grants a special exception.
I know I've spoken on at least two and maybe more different sides of this issue, but looking back at the proposed ordinance that Jonathan drafted, this allows the planning commission, which is eventually going to have to approve the site plan, to consider the effect on the neighborhood and other issues that I think people here are somewhat concerned about. And I think that probably is a practical way to approach this. Do it the way it was drafted. Then it doesn't require the applicant to make a trip to the BZA or send somebody to the BZA, however that works.
And I can be flexible. I want to see these people get some satisfaction from us. It's only those two words that I didn't like in the original one.
Well,
But I don't know that mine.
did we approve your proposed amendment to this proposal when you tried to take out the commercial looking language?
So right now, there's a motion to say light manufacturing sales facilities may be allowed by special exception. Made a motion by Nick, seconded by Katie. No votes been taken. That's where we are right now.
Before we get to that, there seems to be some confusion with our scorekeeper over here as to our vote. So
I thought there was a vote in that last.
So is it too late for me to call for a roll call vote?
Well, in the original vote, sounds like two of your planning commissioners did not vote.
So you could, I would say under
You
Robert's
can-
rules, you could call for a roll call on that original.
Yeah, I think you can
motion.
call a roll call vote. I would call a roll call vote on that original motion to get clarity on what.
For the record, I'm gonna have a roll call vote on your original vote.
On the ordinance as submitted.
As submitted. As we submitted, that's all. And I'm gonna go in order. Richard Black, I voted against. Alec Mosley,
I vote in favor.
Nate Wilson,
I vote in favor.
Dan Sargent,
I vote in favor.
Dan Brown,
I vote in favor.
Katie Trahan.
I vote in
Okay, the numbers are right. Okay.
So that, our procedure, this is recommended to the council, so it's not, in effect until maybe a couple of months.
It's down to the council.
The council meets the last Monday of this month.
The two readings. My favorite question, what is your
Yeah, there's two
timeline?
readings.
We're looking to close on the property as soon as council approves.
So the end of July is not an issue?
No,
We have to
it's
have
approved.
It has to have two readings, but.
So it's gonna have to be the end of August unless you do a
Yeah.
special call.
Yeah.
Do we want a special call meeting?
You're the matter.
Now, remember, your public hearing has to have at least 21 days public notice per state law, so
And it's between the first vote and the second vote?
that's not state law, it says you have to have 21 days public notice for your public hearing.
So you
A lot
can
of
have
times-
public hearing.
Yeah. Some people, so I've had a community where they do their public hearing on the first reading. That's because the way they do their business, you can't have anything on the agenda until at least a month before.
Well, that makes sense to me, that the public hearing should be in front of the first vote if there's opposition and stuff, and you're just
But
creating.
that's how you guys set up your
Before the
meetings.
second vote.
Yeah.
So
How
anyway,
much notice do we need for a special call meeting?
anyway, that's with the,
Y'all were talking about the city council, so I didn't, we too, yeah.
Probably, it seems like they say a reasonable amount of time, is what they say. So,
usually that's around 7 to 14
Yeah,
days.
like
is
17,
reasonable.
used to, what we, I think, what guidelines we use.
You could go ahead and schedule it and then just cancel it if for some reason it couldn't get approved at the first council meeting.
Well, I'm just trying to get it done in July, based on conversation.
I don't think you'll be able to get it in July. I don't think you can get a newspaper
No, I think it's
notice.
probably the first week in August. but-
Yeah.
And the vote that they will be, what will be presented to them will be exactly what we have,
Yes.
with no definitions of light manufacturing, and no restrictions, and no nothing, right?
Well, the planning commission can impose restrictions.
What? What's gonna be presented to the council will be the exact same thing.
And we cannot amend that.
It will be this ordinance.
If you amend it, then it comes
Comes
back.
back.
Yeah. Anything else on this subject?
I want to make sure I understand what's happening next and what we agreed upon at the next steps and dates for everything.
So the ordinance as written today, has been sent to the city council. City council has to have 2 readings. State law requires 2 readings, which one of them has to be a public hearing. For a zoning public hearing notice, you have to have at least 21 days public notice for that. So it has to be in the newspaper at least 21 days prior to that public hearing. And that's what they were trying to figure out in terms of, they have their board mayor hour meetings the last Monday of each month, right?
So the 27th.
Yeah. This would be the first,
But we could advertise the public hearing for August the 6th or 7th or whatever.
Yeah, so you could have
a special meeting on that date and have the public hearing like we always do at 4:30 and the meeting at 5 and then we meet the law.
And when is the first reading?
The 27th.
Regular meeting.
Yeah.
so they would have their first reading at the regular meeting at the end of July. And they could do a special call meeting at the beginning of August where they could have their public
And
hearing.
have the second.
And that's where, but they would just have to make sure they send their notice out as soon as possible.
Yes, yeah, it would have to go out. Yeah.
Who's
Okay, y'all can
responsible
work out the calendar.
for that? Okay, so we're not putting this in the newspaper?
No,
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, unless Ann has some properly presented new business, you're the only, she's good. Anybody else got anything? Okay, we're gonna jump back up to old business, specific standards for downtown zoning district amendment. And these 2 are in your booklet. I hope everybody has reviewed that we have now cleaned up Jonathan's report, right?
Yes, I cleaned up the language that was requested. I also, yes, I cleaned up the language, and then I'll talk about later on in terms of the group homes, the group orders. I feel like hopefully that satisfies what you guys want.
So from a housekeeping standpoint, it's been cleaned up. Do we have any additional conversation? I know we beat this up for a pretty good while, but do we have any additional newfound issues to talk about?
I don't have any new issues, just my same old philosophical issues.
Are they dealing with parking?
Yes. But I don't have anything to say, I just still feel the same way I feel.
I understand. Well, parking is, we tell them they don't have to have any parking spots, so they don't. And then, but if we don't have any city parking. So, I don't know if it's chicken or the egg, or build it and they'll come, I don't know.
So I don't know if y'all were, listened to our last council meeting, but we are moving forward with the restriping of College Avenue.
All right.
With the intent of making clear how much parking could be available there. So we're not creating a bunch of parking to your chicken and the egg question, but we're making sure, or helping, I think, the community understand that there could be a chicken there if the chicken is needed. And I think that's step 1. I think it's going to become clear that there's a whole lot of opportunity there without a whole lot of, without encroachment on the greenway or encroachment on any private property. And I hope we get to the point where we need it.
I do too. I just hope that we don't plan to put all our parking on the County Street side when most of the commercial is on the other side, and we've got to figure out how to get across the state highway.
No, I don't.
Without traffic light.
I don't think that is the only thing. Separately, we've got a Safe Streets grant that the town has applied for that'll also be looking at what parking needs we might have in the C1 corridor. So I think we're working coincident on it.
Well, I too, like Katie, I think we felt there's been a lot of conversation about it taking too long and offending people when they come in here. I'm not disagreeing with that, but I think we should have had a stronger position on minimum parking. I think we were so concerned about utilizing every inch that we had, and we went to great lengths on defining those inches and those feet and everything, and where everything had to be, but we ignored the fact that, and maybe the business will be smart enough to put their own parking. I don't know where they're gonna put it.
I think that's the important thing, is that we allow it, and particularly early on. So if we think about this, particularly early on, it's not going to be an issue. If we are fortunate enough to have a new business build, there's still going to be a lot of empty ground, and we can negotiate that parking really easily. When that second business comes in, we probably need to be thinking as a town and beginning to work with some solutions. But that's also when the town has an opportunity to start working with the private landowners to say, okay, what can we do to create some community parking? And we do, in this ordinance, encourage shared parking, and that's really how you can build density without having everybody have their own parking. Because if everybody has to have their own parking, we're not ever going to have a downtown.
Point of information, doesn't that go to your C1 studies in Imagine Mount Eagle?
Yeah,
And isn't that the famous C1 downtown business district?
that's what we're discussing right now.
That's what I mean. But you have been discussing it, is my point. I know you're discussing it now, but you've been talking about that for a while with C1 and the consultants, haven't you?
Yes,
Yeah.
we still are.
Well, I know we're talking about the C1 business, but my other concern is with the residential that's behind, and without really having, required parking for, I know there's one in the driveway or one in whatever. When it all starts to overflow from the residential and that goes into the business area, that's gonna be a problem. And you can say that the developer is going to put the parking in if they need it, but they're not. If it's not required to have at least a certain number of spaces for townhomes or condos or whatever, and it's just gonna be street parking, they're not gonna put it in. They're gonna put in what is financially beneficial for them. And then when the overflow goes to the business area, the businesses are gonna have trouble. And that's just the way it is.
Totally agree.
So are there specific questions and concerns, or do we just want to call for a vote and see where it lands? I'm willing to make a motion.
I mean, I think I'm just repeating the same concerns over and over again, so I don't have much else to say.
Do we have any other discussion on specific standards for downtown zoning district? I guess this is commercial. Any other conversation?
I guess I would just urge the planning commission to give this a try. We can always, if it becomes a problem, we can always go back on it. But what we have now is certainly not working. And so I think this represents a step forward. I understand that there could be some concerns with parking at a later date, but I think at this time, some action is warranted to help move us forward. And my hope would be, again, if we can get beyond this process, then the next step is to actually spec out some buildings. And so we've got some funding identified to do that, and to begin to do at least some massing studies and work with some of the private property owners to see what might be feasible. And hopefully that'll allay some of people's concerns.
Did you have a motion?
So I'll go ahead and move that we recommend to the city council approval of the ordinance to amend the Montego zoning ordinance for the downtown commercial corridor.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those for?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
All against? Two of us. Katie and I were against. Okay, the next, motion carried. Next is residential overlay amendment. Same scenario. Hope you had a chance, and Jonathan, the same thing, you cleaned this up right to
Yes, so what I did, I think I cleaned kind of the typos and stuff, and then I put a definition for both hostels and short-term group living quarters, a type of transient lodging facility that offers basic accommodations typified by dormitory-style sleeping quarters and shared bathroom and living areas. Stays at these facilities may not exceed 30 consecutive days. And in my schedule permitted uses, I made a distinction between that and the institutional. So I gave additional, I basically said, what was it? So if you look on the schedule permitted uses, I put group quarters and dormitories, and I put in parentheses institutional, so that way it wouldn't affect the Sunday school assembly. Because I think that was the concern, is if you change the definition for, you know, your residential overlay, then how does that impact the Sunday school assembly, where, you know, they have a different way that they approach it. And that's not, they're not intended for transient, lodging. They're intended for, people volunteering there or whatever other uses they have.
Did we ever determine how far back the residential, this applies to residential?
Yeah, we can find it.
I knew we did.
Yeah, so the district boundaries, I have a written definition.
Just on Church Street and Market Street. Real deep.
I basically tried to put, as best I could, a kind of a box on either side of Main Street. That way, you know, you're not including all the residential around there, but it gives something to work with. So that way you have, you know, people can work with this, and it involves all of your residential currently, which R1, R2, and R3 are included within these boxes.
Yeah, the important thing is that it's all served by sewer, so it can support that density.
Is First Street included?
Yes.
So yeah, so
Second Street included?
yes.
South of 3rd Street, yeah.
So it's the area north of Main Street, east of Central Avenue, south of 3rd Street, and west of Lee Avenue. So it's within that parameters.
Okay, is it 3rd Street?
It's south of 3rd Street. So it would only be half of 3rd Street.
So it'd be half of 2nd Street.
No, if it's south, everything
Second
is,
Street,
Oh,
it won't be
Second
the-
Street.
It won't be the 3rd, yeah.
yeah, so yeah, it's everything south of 3rd Street, and then, I guess, east of Central Avenue, east of Central Avenue, west of Lee Avenue. So, you know, it's basically this area right here. I try to make
Market
it,
Street on the other side? Because you already been talking about maybe going all the way to the interstate?
yeah, so we put it there where I didn't go all the way, it doesn't go all the way down Moffett Street, because the Spring Street is the western boundary, or the eastern boundary that's west of Spring Street.
Any more discussion?
Well, I kind of feel like Katie did about the parking. I still, you know, we've got the temporary dwelling unit, there's no definition, and that one just really bugs me.
So temporary dwelling units does have a definition.
And where is that?
That's within the zoning ordinance. So there's a specific section for temporary dwelling units. And temporary dwelling units are allowed in all, currently are allowed in all
No.
residential facilities.
There are restrictions like
Yeah.
5 meter.
Yeah, and well, the whole point of temporary dwelling is the name temporary. Usually you have somebody for, you have, I think you have a medical temporary dwelling unit, so somebody has to have, it's usually when you're taking care of a family member that you, that's not living in your own house, but want to be on the same property to take care of them. Or somebody building like a house, you know, they want to be able to live on the property while they're building their house. Those are the reasons why you have temporary dwelling units. They're not meant for long-term living.
Do we have a limitation?
Whatever in section 537.
I think.
Or section
Yeah, so it allows people, like if you're doing a home renovation and you're gonna be outside your kitchen, you can be in your RV while your kitchen is being renovated. Kind of thing. 537, 538.
There might be, I think there might be.
Temporary uses. Built carnival or circle? Circle, sweet. That's different. Temporary dwelling units, see section 536.
Might be the.
Down scroll.
How does this affect people who already live there? How does this affect the people who already live on those streets?
Well, that's what, I guess that's my, kind of my thought, like, my saying is, this doesn't affect anybody differently. It's allowing temporary dwelling units in the residential overlay, it's already allowed. Yeah, nobody's going to be negatively impacted currently because there's no difference in what they're currently allowed to do.
It's a good
and what they will be allowed to do.
And if it burns, they can rebuild what they have.
What was, sorry, could you repeat, what do you mean by that?
If their house burns, they can rebuild what they've got now.
Yeah, you can, within the non-conforming status. So let's say it's a non-conforming building. Your non-conforming section usually has a section in terms of.
And if it is conforming.
Yeah, if it's conforming, obviously you can build up to whatever you can build back what you have, yeah.
So temporary dwelling units, to answer your question, was your question about duration?
Yes.
So
And
there
appearance is another one.
are two types. There is medical hardship, TDU, which you can apply for a 12-month permit, and permits may be renewed annually for an additional 12 months, subject to producing physician statements. And then major home repair is the one where you have the fire or you got major renovation, and those shall be valid for 12 months and may be renewed once for an additional 6 months.
Where do you apply for the permit?
Let's go up to the top. TDU general standards, permitted TDUs. It would have to be at City Hall.
Good.
It doesn't explicitly say that.
Is there a person that's responsible for them?
It would be the building inspector and codes enforcement officer, I think. So yes, we do have a codes enforcement officer. Okay, here, no person shall construct, install, or locate a TDU on any property without first receiving a building permit or required authorization from the town of Mont Eagle.
So it could be building permit, or if the building inspector is not comfortable, he could you would likely bring it to the town council. Because I think that's the way, how do you get this, well, maybe that's for business permits.
Only one TDU shall be permitted per eligible lot and shall not be located with any setbacks.
Now, when you put a TDU, it's been a while since I read that, but I believe they also have to have either sewer or septic. They have to have their own access. It can't just be a standalone.
So when we bought our house here, we lived in an RV for the first year, and I came up here and asked, and they said, just do it. Don't worry about it. I don't know whether that's for better or worse, but.
Worked for you, didn't it?
Yeah. But I think that the point is a good one, that TDUs are allowed in all residential zoning districts, so it's not really germane to this conversation anyway.
Not really.
So I'm going to go ahead and move that we recommend to the city council approval of an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance by creating a downtown residential overlay district.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those for?
Yes.
All opposed?
Katie?
I want to go on record as saying I think this is very cookie cutter. I think the people worked hard to put it together. The people are here. And I think it's very cookie cutter. And we talk about people being able to do what they want to on their property, and now we're defining it, in my opinion, in great detail of what they can do. But I only did one vote. Okay, permitted uses table amendment. We talked some about the temporary dwelling units and that, where they, all that kind of stuff. Well, anything in here that we don't think should be in here? Now's the time to discuss it, otherwise it's gonna be in the new C1 and the residential in the overlay.
The council agrees. If the council agrees.
Yeah, if the council agrees, but I mean, I can't speak for them. So we're okay with, I mean, I'm saying that, I mean, is there anything we need to discuss, that why are they in here, why are they not?
I know we had a lot of debate on the correctional facilities at that last meeting. I see it's now, you can have that in C2, is that where everyone had talked about it last time?
I mean, that's where it's currently allowed, it's C2. So I didn't change it. The only thing, yeah.
No,
C1 is, so you're, the C1, the PS and SS, that's the only thing that I've changed to this. So that if you go down to there, those are the only changes from the existing document.
So this point about correctional facilities and the lack of retail in C3, I mean, these are just two examples of why we really need to look at our C2 and C3 in addition to C1. So, you know, that's why I was so excited when UT reached out. So I hope that that's something that this commission can engage in, because we don't have a whole lot of continuity to what we're doing in C2 or C3.
No, and typically that's where we get the most requests.
Right,
So
right.
that's where we need the most work.
Yep, yep. But I think this ordinance as proposed is simply incorporating the changes in the C1 downtown corridor and adjacent residential overlay. So we probably wouldn't want to try to fix everything tonight. Might
No.
stymie the process.
No.
So I move we recommend to the city council approval of an ordinance to amend section 501, schedule of permitted uses in the Monteagle zoning ordinance.
Second.
We have a second. Any further conversation before we vote? All those for?
Yes.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Any properly presented old business or new business? Since we moved them around, I want to give everybody an opportunity. Mayor,
I don't know how to put this in English where it sounds pleasant, but I'm confused. And I don't like the fire hose approach. I'm not saying you had one, or the mayor and alderman have one, but it seems like an awful lot of information and decision-making in an hour, hour and a half, whatever. I would ask that perhaps you consider some kind of workshop schedule to thrash this stuff out. They don't have to be 6-hour meetings, a topic a week, a topic every 2 weeks, but it just sounds like, with all due respect to Nate, he got consultants, they talked about C1, we do overlays, we do this, we do that. I'm not sure everyone is comfortable or understand all of this stuff where it's been refined into a cohesive document.
well, let's do it.
That's me as a spectator. Now, I may be wrong, but
I'll get it scheduled and I guess we need to make sure the people from the committee and as many members that can be there and as many council people that can be there. Because it's taken us, this our third meeting to go.
And we've had 3 workshops.
Huh?
And we've had at least
Yeah.
3 workshops already.
yeah, that's fine. And have the results been sent out? And I'm sure you had workshops, I'm sure there was brilliant discussion, but for me, it's like, and maybe I'm just a slow learner, it's not tied together. Tonight, we're just hopscotching, it sounds like, all over the place. And maybe we were, maybe that's good, I don't know.
I'll schedule it. I'll be the facilitator, but I'm not the right person to chair it because I'm pretty confused about it myself.
Well,
So,
Well, we're going to have a public hearing on it. Assuming that the that this council, in order for it to move forward, we'll have to have 2 votes at the city council and a public hearing. Would that solve your?
I'm not going to, but whatever you all decide, it's fine. If the public hearing satisfies everything, that's up to you.
I guess my question with the workshop is, all these have been recommended. The planning commission can't do anything until it's sent back to the city commission.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, I got the impression tonight maybe we all needed a little more discussion or conversation instead of at a meeting, but I don't know.
I think the way that we're going to approach C2 and C3 is going to be very different than how we approach C1.
And we know how we're approaching C1, everyone's comfortable with that?
I think, a lot of the stuff is stuff that, I let Kronberg put together because that's who was, tasked by the town to do so. But I'm going to be working with the local planning office to do C2 and C3. I think hopefully that will be a little more streamlined in how we approach that and give something that is much more conducive to what the town needs right now.
I don't get one vote, but I do get to speak, so now hang on. I think we've gone from the right-hand ditch to the left-hand ditch, and we need to slow down in the middle. That's my personal opinion.
I mean, I have always asked, and I've gotten answers from time to time, what are the boundaries of C1? The street name on a map, to Katie's point, how far off of Main Street do you go? I had heard 2 blocks both directions. Is that definite? Is that etched in stone? Is that what we're doing? One point of maps, answer my question. Is it
it's on the map.
Is it 2 streets in both directions off of Main Street? That's my question.
Let's look at the map.
No, I don't want to look at the map. I want somebody to tell me, yes, Greg, you're right. It's 2 streets, both directions. Is it?
Well, where the end is, I'm on both.
Yeah.
So I've got primary on the front and secondary on the back.
Actually, that's for you. Okay, let me just.
I mean, I don't want to get it, I'm just raising points that I think there's some confusion and maybe it should be refined. Fine.
That's.
I have nothing else.
Yeah, with zoning, when you put a zoning map together, it will change over time. You've done multiple rezonings, so a map, that's the reason why I don't think you should ever have a map just solely, in the zoning ordinance is always going to change. It's, you're anticipating it's going to change in the future. So that's the whole point of why you have a zoning map. That's what state law requires you to have, a zoning map to do that, look where it is. You may, in the future, want to streamline where your C1 is or where your other things, change definitions, change things, and that's within your purview to do. That's the whole point of this. The whole point of the zoning ordinance is how you want uses to be allowed in your town. What uses, where you put restrictions and stuff. Again, like I said, I just want to make my point from earlier. You guys are a little different in terms of that. When you look at a lot of other communities, your highway, interstate, that's where they get the majority of their commercial and retail businesses allowed. And so that is a little different how you guys operate. And I think that may be where it's led to some issues where uses that probably should be allowed in areas aren't currently allowed, or it doesn't make sense.
The C1 district hasn't changed as a result of what we've done today.
Correct.
So what it was yesterday
Yeah.
it still is according to our recommendation today.
And although I voted against these things, I do feel like there were a lot of positive things in it and a lot of good work in it. I've had significant differences with it all along the way, and I have voiced those, and I've been told no. And so my differences haven't changed over that time, but I had very strong feelings about those that entire time that I felt like they were obstacles I couldn't get past. I felt like they were true obstacles that were long-term going to be a problem. And that's, but I feel like we still made a lot of progress in the plan. So that's kind of where I am.
I agree.
I'm gonna say we're gonna focus on that. To give you, I'm gonna have 10 days in between to get enough here to.
When did we start the Imagine Montego process? Was that 04? I mean 24?
It's 24.
Any other business to discuss tonight?
Yeah, do we have any updates on the stuff that, the different places of business that Travis lawyer went serve some ordinance violations?
Oh, I do not have an update from Travis. I will get that and send y'all a copy of it. And I did not get that from Travis. 4th of July and everything, and he was pushed up. So I know there's been some activity. Go ahead.
There has been activity. He wanted to be here tonight. He's out on 2 calls, I see, with fire and EMS. What he's trying to do is start one at a time, go to the other with one topic. So he started to address, I believe he told me, and we'll get the information, get it to you, containers around the garbage containers, some kind of screening. Then he wants to go to signs from A to Z. As an example, and I'm not picking on anyone, he's not sure that Misty's signs comply to what you all passed in the site plan.
I'm pretty sure.
They don't.
They don't.
So they don't.
They don't, okay, so,
Almost
and I
none of
just
those,
used that.
almost none of those signs were on the site plan. They've
Well,
been screened up.
Yeah.
That's what he meant. I just don't want to make definite statements. That's, from my point, he's reviewing all of the signs. But yeah, I'm sure that's one area he's looking at.
I think they had through June 30th to start to make changes.
Okay, I don't remember, that's right.
I'll get everybody feedback on that.
Thank you.
I just been having a bit of a.
But there is a process now that It has to be, a lot of people will be happy after the elections, and a lot of those signs can go away.
Well, I thought the city did a good job for 4th of July. It was well policed, it was well organized, it was cleaned up afterwards well, so I thought good crowd.
And I've had a lot of positive comments, a lot of work went into it.
Yeah.
Either Michelle was a help, Martha Ann Pilcher was a help, police and fire did their jobs. I think we have a lot to be proud of in this town, I just like to refine some issues.
But I thought it went well.
Thank you.
Yeah, people have been really, really pleased.
My grandkids enjoyed picking up all the candy. You
That's
reminded
always
me
a
of
plus.
candy, I promise you that.
We didn't do chocolate this year. We didn't go with the asphalt.
Anything else?
Move we adjourn.
I have a motion, a move to adjourn. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Got 4 of them. All those for?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all.
Thank you.